guys! In this tutorial, I'm going to show you a step-by-step of how I like to do volume lash extensions from start to finish. Keep watching until the end of the video to see a before and after comparison of what it looks like with volume lash extensions versus without. I always remind my clients to arrive with a face mask already on, and first things first, I use a gentle makeup remover such as micellar water with cotton pads to wipe down the entire eye area. I do this because I want to make sure that the skin is super clean with no makeup, and also to remove any excess oils on the skin. This is really important because squeaky clean skin helps the gel pad and the tape adhere way better on the skin. I like to wipe all over the entire eyelid, under the eyes, near the eyebrows, and even across the nose, because I tape over the eyelids in different sections, so it helps a lot that the skin is really clean so that the tape can adhere really well. On to cleansing. I like to have some paper towels set beside my client's head. Here I'm just using Prolong Lash Cleanser that I mixed into a foam pump bottle and a disposable flocked applicator brush. I like using these brushes because it's lint-free, so there's no fibers that will get caught in the lashes. So I just dispense about 2 to 3 pumps onto the paper towel and dip the applicator into the foam. When cleansing, I like to make sure that the lash cleanser is evenly distributed over the entire eye area and really work that cleanser into the lash line. The applicator is firm enough to work thoroughly into the lash line. I also like it because it's a one-time use brush per client. It's usually easier to clean lashes that don't have extensions. With extensions, you want to make sure you are cleaning the bases of the lashes really well, especially the lash line, because that's where there's a lot of buildup. You want to thoroughly work the cleanser into every single lash to remove any buildup, residue, and oils. Keep going until there's no cleanser on the lashes. Next, I'm going to rinse off the lashes with some lukewarm water, and I really love this bottle because it has this L-shaped nozzle. It makes it so much easier to dispense the water, and you have more control over the water flow. So I just get my clients to tilt their head over to one side and place the folded paper towel on the side of their face and rinse thoroughly. I like to rinse and pat dry a few times just to make sure that all the cleanser is rinsed off. And then I repeat the exact same thing on the other eye. Place the paper towel on the side of their face, rinse, pat dry, and rinse again. Then I'll use a fan to dry off the lashes, and at the same time, I continuously brush the lashes to separate them and to make sure that they can fully dry. So now I'll measure and cut 2 pieces of tape. Any tape works for this, which will be used to secure the face mask down. I do this to prevent the mask from shifting, to close the loose gaps on the mask, and to prevent my client's breath from flowing upward towards the lashes, which can affect the adhesive from curing. I place one tape from the bridge of the nose all the way across one side of the cheek, and then I do the exact same on the other side of the face. I personally recommend using these clear medical tapes because I find that they stick the best to most fabric masks, and it doesn't lift or detach throughout the appointment. So I'm basically securing down the entire upper edge of the face mask. Next, I cut up this Next Care sensitive tape into thin strips, which I like to use to secure the bottom lashes and on the eyelids to maneuver the lash line. This is my favorite tape because it's super gentle on the skin and it doesn't irritate the skin or pull out any hairs like some super sticky tapes do. As you can see with this large tape, I can actually cut into 5 to 6 thin strips. Doing this saves you a lot of product. You don't want to be wasteful because most of the time you really only need a thin section of the tape to secure down the lashes, and a fresh pair of gel pads per client. I love using gel pads because it's a really good surface to lash on, but it's also easy to readjust throughout the appointment without losing its adhesion, and it helps to secure down the bottom lashes. I always make sure to place the gel pad away from the waterline, just close enough to secure down the bottom lashes. And once their eyes are closed, I go in again and make any readjustments so that the gel pad is sitting comfortably on their face. Gel pads are also super useful for securing down the face masks. I like placing the gel pads over the face masks just like this, and I find that it helps to block off any air that might seep through the mask. Sometimes I like to use my index fingers to gently press down the under eye skin to help spread out the lash line so that it's easier to align the gel pad to the bottom lash line. So with the thin strips of NextCare tape, I place one strip diagonally to secure the inner corner lashes and then the other along the outer corner lashes, pretty much placing the tape along the lash line to better secure the bottom lashes and to prevent them from slipping out under the gel pads. I also do this to tape down the gel pads in place so that they don't push or press up against my client's upper lashes. Here's a tip when doing this. Ask your clients to look in the other direction away from where you're placing the tape. It helps them focus and prevent them from fluttering or blinking too much. If I ever need to make any adjustments to the tape, I use my tweezers because I find that it's just a lot easier to grip the tape and reposition using my tweezers rather than my fingers. I like to use a clean paper towel to place onto my client's forehead because the way that I lash, I place my hands on my client's head for stabilization, but this is important just for hygienic reasons to avoid having to touch their skin for such a long period of time and to avoid any face makeup or oil transferring onto your hands. Another useful tip I recommend with brand new lash strips is to use a clean brush and brush through them like this. Just comb through them left and right throughout the entire strip to make sure that the lashes are separated and not clinging onto each other. I find this really useful, especially with volume lashes, because sometimes the lashes stick together at the tips and it can be quite frustrating if you're trying to fan them out. So I place a piece of micropore paper tape at the top of my lash towel for my glue dots. Then I just shake my glue bottle really well for about 30 seconds and dispense my first glue drop right on the micropore tape. So with the extra pieces of NextCare tape that I cut earlier, I like to use one strip to maneuver the eyelid. Since I'm starting on the outer corner, I place the tape horizontally on the far right of the eyelid, like this, and gently stretch the eyelid to the left, and this will spread out the outer corner lash line. I sometimes like to lift and pull back the eyelids like this to double check that the bottom lashes are secured in case they accidentally slipped out from under the tape or the gel pad. As for tweezers, I like to use this thin and long isolation tweezer because it's easier to separate the natural lashes without having to angle my hand too much. And I'm using this sharp flat edge volume tweezer. Both tweezers have very soft to medium tension, which I really like and think is very important because it helps to keep my grip relaxed and comfortable. I went ahead and filled in a few fans on the outer corners just to show you that gradual transition into volume lashes. So I always isolate the natural lash first, and you can see that I like to use both my tweezers for this. I like that the tweezers have better control in moving those little natural lashes aside. And then once I have that natural lash isolated, I keep my left hand comfortably in that position, continuing to isolate while my right hand creates the volume fan. I always customize each volume fan to match the health of the natural lash. So my volume fans usually range from 2D to 6D depending on what natural lash I'm working on. Isolation is so important, which is why I always want to make sure I have secured a natural lash before I go ahead and work on a volume fan. I also rest my hand lightly on my client's head to help with better stabilization, which is why I hold my isolating hand like this. You can also see that my isolation tweezer doesn't press down into the gel pad because my hand is naturally resting on my client's forehead, so there's no pressure for me to point my tweezer downward into the gel pad. Normally, I like to lash back and forth from the right eye and jump over to the left eye, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just working on this one eye. The reason why I like to lash back and forth at the same time is because I like to allow the extension that I just attached to dry and cure without accidentally having its neighboring lashes stick to it. It happened to me before a few times where I'm pushing lashes around and they accidentally stick to one another. So that's why I prefer working back and forth from eye to eye. You can see that I'm always lashing in a different section of the lash line from the previous lash that I just attached. I want to allow space between them to dry and cure. But I also do this because I like to fill up the lash line evenly and slowly build up the fullness throughout the entire eye. That way I don't feel pressured that I only lashed half an eye. So usually every 20 minutes, I like to dispense a new glue drop, and this is important because you want to make sure your glue is fresh in order to avoid issues working with the glue. You also know when the glue needs to be replaced when it starts looking deflated and thickens. So my lashing strategy is to find all those long and thick natural lashes first because they're easiest to isolate, and I'm able to attach larger volume fans on those lashes. Doing this, I'm able to create more volume quickly because I'm attaching larger fans throughout the lash line, and then I go in and work on those smaller natural lashes with smaller fans. So now that I'm working on the inner corners, I go ahead and reposition the tape. I place the tape close to the inner corner section and gently pull the tape outwards to help stretch out the lash line. I really like this taping method of pulling the eyelid from left to right because it doesn't lift the eyelid open and you're still able to keep the eyes closed. Taping the eyelid horizontally like this also helps to control the eyelid for some clients whose eyes are fluttery or can't keep their eyes fully closed. See how once I've evenly applied the extensions throughout the lash line, I go back to different sections of the lash line and work on filling up the gaps. It helps a lot that I've attached all these extensions throughout because it makes it easier to isolate lashes and push them aside for me to work on those smaller and harder to isolate natural lashes. Once I'm done, I like to give the lashes a really good and thorough brush through. Before I remove the tapes and the gel pad, I double check by lifting the eyelid a little to see if there's any lashes stuck to the bottom lashes. At the end, I gently peel off the gel pads and tape. I have my tweezer in my hand because sometimes I like to use a tweezer to peel off the tape because it's easier to grip onto. And to finish off, I always spend about 2 minutes fanning my client's lashes and face just to cool off, and it helps a lot with removing the lingering fumes and vapors of the lash glue. I always wait until the very end of the appointment to remove these tapes that secure the mask down, just to prevent any exposure and any more airflow through the gaps of the face mask. So here is the final side-by-side comparison of volume lash extensions versus no lash extensions. I only did about 75% coverage of her natural lashes, but you can definitely see the difference it creates on the lash line. Notice how from the previous angle, the lash extensions look like they're all one length, but once she opens her eyes, you can see that it's actually a subtle cat eye shape and lash map that was used. The inner corners are shorter and there's a gradual transition from the middle section of the eye to the outer corners. Let us know in the comments below if you'd like to see more lashing tutorials like this. Thanks for watching.